10A Boxing Podcast, where the punches never stop and the excitement is always ringside. Get ready to step into the world of boxing like never before. Join us as we dive deep into the stories, strategies, and showdowns that make boxing the ultimate sport of champions. From knockout interviews with legendary fighters to ringside roundups of the biggest matchups, we've got you covered with expert analysis and insider insights. So lace up your gloves, grab a ringside seat, and get ready to experience the thrill of the fight. This is the 10-8 Podcast. Yo, what's the deal? It's your boy Norms, and it's the 10-8 Podcast. We are live right now out in, my crib. Just chilling right now. It's a big boxing week, and I haven't really been on this week, but, shit happens, life, and trying to get a set schedule to where it makes sense. Going to be dropping a lot more content on the channel. Poison Pen, what's good, my guy? Battle rap legend, Poison Pen. It's my guy right there. I ain't seen that boy in a minute. But this weekend's a big boxing weekend. We got the Rolly Romero versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz this weekend. You know what I mean? Two of the factors of Gervonta Davis going down to defeat got popular off of that. And, now we got them at 140 pounds fighting. And I'm actually excited for this bout, to be honest with you. Kay Walker, my guy. Who do I think is going to win? That's what we're going to get to right now. To be honest with you, and this is being frank, I'm not a big. I like Rolly in regards to the fact that he's a funny ass dude. I think he's a fucking hilarious, right? I'm not a big Rolly fan in regards to his boxing. To be perfectly honest, like I said, I think he's a great character. I think that's where he excels in the fact that he's a hilarious dude, and this is why he got the fight that he got. You know what I mean? Kay Walker, what's up? But to be perfectly honest with you, Isaac Cruz is the better boxer, okay? Now, Rolly is the bigger puncher, the more entertaining person. I think he's the more marketable individual for Mayweather Promotions. And I think people got to look past the winner of this fight because we all know who the kings are at 140. It's Matias, it's Haney, and it's Teofimo Lopez. These two guys are trying to figure out their way in between that, to be honest with you, or where they can fit in. But we don't really, in my opinion, look at Rolly as a legit threat. I just feel like he's more of an entertainer at 140, and that's not to knock Rolly Romero because I like Rolly Romero. But he's not messing with Josh Taylor or the big dogs at 140. And, it's a good fight. Listen, the fact that it's a pay-per-view, and right now because Tim Tszyu, because Keith Thurman had to back out, he's pretty much the main event, and people are tuned in. It speaks volumes on Rolly's value because to me, Rolly's not. He's not of the elites. I wouldn't put him in the top 10 at 140. That's just me personally. But again, I definitely look forward to the fight. In regards to answer, who do I think is going to win this fight? If it's a boxing match, 12 rounds, I feel like Isaac Cruz is better equipped to go 12 rounds and look good going 12 rounds. I don't believe that Rolly Romero is going to look as good going 12 rounds versus Pitbull Cruz. And that's kind of where I'm at in terms of gauging them. I've seen Cruz go 12 rounds. I've seen him last that long and be consistent and be on top of you. And Isaac Cruz is going to be on top of Rolly Romero pretty much the entire night. He's going to be on his ass. He's going to be on his bumper. You know what I'm saying? And I feel as if it's going to be hard for Cruz to beat Rolly in regards to a decision simply because I think Rolly is the more invested in, right? But I think that Rolly shouldn't beat him in a decision. I think Rolly's best chance is to catch him coming in and go for the knockout because I think just in a long fight, I just feel like it favors Isaac Cruz. But I still think Rolly's going to come out the victory because he's a marketable dude. He sells the fight. Isaac Cruz is not at 140 pounds. So I think he's going uphill. And I think Isaac Cruz has to have a really big performance in order to overtake what's going against him. Now, I think Rolly is very awkward. Rolly has the power. Rolly can't hurt him. Um, and I think we're gonna find out. It's gonna be an exciting fight. My man Ronnie says, I think it's gonna be a knockout. If it's gonna be a knockout, I think it's gonna be Rolly. Man, it's Isaac Cruz can take a punch. I think it's gonna be Rolly is definitely playing for the knockout. Isaac Cruz is built to go 12 rounds, to be perfectly honest. And that's just the facts. But that's kind of how I feel about that fight. But I am looking forward to the fight. I think it's a very good fight, an entertaining fight. But that's how I look at it. And then we got to look at where do they go from there. That's why I kind of want Rolly to win in a sense because he's so hilarious to me. You know what I mean? I'd like to see them fight some of the top guys. I'd like to see Rolly fight Teofimo Lopez. I'd like to see Rolly fight Devin Haney. I mean, and I think these are fights that are more suited for entertainment because I don't think he stands a chance against a Devin Haney, against a Teofimo Lopez. But at the end of the day, I think it helps what Haney's doing with building his profile as a major fighter, right? So he goes and let's say Haney gets Rolly, beats Rolly bad and whatnot. Now you can start comparing similar opponents to Gervonta possibly getting a mega fight. But it all is all pending on Rolly. But I just don't see Rolly being a huge threat at 140. He does have the one punch knockout power and all that stuff, but he's not with the elites at 140 pounds. I think Isaac Cruz is better suited as a boxer, to be honest with you, but he's just not marketable and entertaining. So, it's one of those things. Rolly's entertaining. You said Ryan Garcia is going to KO Devin Haney. I don't think so. I mean, we can get into that later, but again, look, you got Ryan, you got possible fights with Ryan versus Rolly. These are all entertaining fights. Can you imagine, Bobby, if Ryan Garcia were to fight Rolly Romero? How entertaining the lead up to the fight would actually be. I think that would be one of the greatest lead ups ever. Just Rolly really sticking it to him. And again, like Devin Haney is not much of a talker. His dad is, right? But his dad's not fighting. Rolly is Bill Haney in one. Like he's the talker. He's gonna pick at him. He knows him. I mean, I would love to see that. That's why I think this fight opens up a lot of doors for Rolly if Rolly's able to get a victory in it, because there's so many big matchups for him at 140 pounds. And I think we'll probably see if Rolly can pull this out, Rolly versus Ryan. But even if Ryan loses, we probably can still see Rolly versus Ryan Garcia as well, because both of them losing and possibly it's still an entertaining, valuable fight. But I don't think Rolly is that big in this fight. I'm also live on YouTube. If you guys, anybody want to come up, we can talk about this shit. But I want to say Rolly. I'm actually rooting for Rolly because it's a lot of content once you start getting Rolly to fight Ryan Garcia and guys like that. So to me, it would be crazy. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think regardless of the fallout of this fight, if Rolly loses and Ryan loses, which is more likely, right? We're probably going to see Rolly versus Ryan at 140, kind of like an eliminator in a sense, because it still holds value, because it's going to have the internet on fire. And that's where Isaac Cruz has to watch out fighting Rolly, because the longer Rolly wins, the more money Mayweather Promotions is going to get. And he's that type of a character that he can continue to grow on the internet, not even because of being a great fighter, because I don't think anybody on here or anybody in boxing could actually sit there and say they've actually seen a great Rolly performance. And that's just being honest. And I mean, there's people that have seen him behind the scenes and sparring and stuff like that. But I can't sit there and say anybody's ever seen, yo, did you see that Rolly fight? He caught this crazy knockout. No, it's more so the stuff that he does in the media. He's highly entertaining. And I think the longer he's active, the better it is for Rolly. You know what I mean? My man Positive Vibes, if this goes to 12 rounds, judges will give it to Rolly. I'm kind of with you too. Vibes. Muhid, I'm with you, Muhid, because he's just more valuable. And this is where the politics of boxing comes in. And a lot of it has to do with value. I mean, let's be honest. Rolly hasn't done anything to win to earn a belt, to be honest with you. But We've seen guys like Edgar Berlanga get skipped to the front of the line just so they can get a mega fight. It's a lot of politics and who the money who people want to put the money behind in regards to flipping the money, and that's what makes boxing such an interesting sport. It's more so about the dollar, you know what I mean, the dollar amount, as opposed to being a great champion. And we've seen that numerous occasions of fighters ducking other fighters so they won't lose, and being able to get away with it. I mean, you know, a lot of people say that about Canelo versus Benavidez. People say that versus Boots versus, Bud Crawford. So to me, you know, boxing is a weird space because being a champion in boxing, although it is valuable, isn't the main thing. And I think that's where boxing kind of fails. And you got to kind of look at everything outside of boxing. It's kind of like a free for all, to be honest with you. You know, it's dominated by multiple promotional companies that look for the money for these big companies, and you know, there's no real suspensions unless you're caught dirty or shit like that, or you do something ridiculous. But it's not as organized. It's kind of helter skelter out there, and I think that's what makes boxing so intriguing to a lot of people. And now that a lot of these boxers, especially guys like Rolly Romero, are capitalizing off of social media and the Ryan Garcias, it adds a different element to the fight, and it kind of takes the championship aspect out of it because it's more so about entertainment. And I think you got to thank Jake Paul for bringing that element here. Bobby Lewis, what do you think about the return of the Towering Inferno? I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about Tim Tszyu versus Fernando. I was looking forward for the Keith Thurman fight because I like Tim Tszyu a lot. I don't even know how tall is for Fernando. Like, what is he, like 7 feet tall? They said this is the biggest discrepancy in regards to height in the history of boxing. That guy's fighting at 154 pounds. Let me see how tall this guy is because I can't even look it up. But how tall is he? They said it was like 8-inch difference. And I think Tim Tszyu's about like 5'8", 5'9". He's 6'8", fighting 154 pounds. Jesus Christ. I mean, let's get into that. And a lot of people were saying this is going to be a difficult fight for Tim Tszyu because it's an adjustment. I was watching, I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was Timothy Bradley, but he was stating that this is going to be a difficult fight because, A, you're taking him at the last minute. Oh, Rolly was talking about this. Actually, Rolly, shout out to Rolly. And you take him at the last minute, and he's such a tall fighter that you're training to fight a certain way, to punch a certain way, and you're doing certain things. And now you're punching up to a guy that's 6'8". So this is a very dangerous fight for Tim Tszyu. And not to mention, this man is very active. He's very, he throws a lot of punches. So it is predicted to be a fucking fire show. So I'm actually looking forward to it. I think Tim Tszyu is going to attack the body and try to take him out that way. But again, when you attack the body, you leave yourself open to getting hit. But I got Tim Tszyu winning this fight by knockout, to be perfectly honest. And, I think a lot of people want to see where's it going to go from there because it's, again, these are all setup fights for bigger fights. Bud Crawford exercised his right to fight the mandatory at 154, which would be Tim Tszyu. So that's also fire too. Now we got Tim Tszyu possibly fighting him, Bud Crawford. So I'm actually looking forward to that. There's a lot of good fights that are possibly happening. My man Battlefact says, I got Fundora. A lot of people are asleep. Fundora is not a slouch. He got caught and lost, but he was dominating that fight and all of his other fights. We're going to find out a lot, Battlefacts, about Tim Tszyu. We're going to find out a lot about Fundora in this fight. But, Tim Tszyu is a puncher, just like his dad was. He's a very smart dude, and he's making his debut. And again, he's not taking a fight. He's not taking a fighter that's not a threat. I mean, he could have easily taken someone else, but this is a big, big fight. So this weekend alone, it's more so to set up what we're going to see the rest of the year. Are we going to get Tim Tszyu fighting? Because apparently it's already in talks versus Bud Crawford. You know what I mean? That's something that, it's going to be, it depends on Tim Tszyu doing what he does this week. If Tim Tszyu goes out, gets an impressive knockout, it now makes sense to do a Bud fight. We all know Bud is not going to fight Boots. He's trying to get that bag over at 168, so he's moving up progressively to get to that possibility to get to Canelo. So, we got that. So to me, That's what it's going to look like. Tim has developed into a really solid fighter. He made me a believer in the Tony Harris fight. He's legit. His tests are for sure ahead of him. I mean, yeah, I mean the guy's a puncher, man. The guy he can put you out, and he's making his debut out here and whatnot, and you know, there's a possibility of a big fight versus Bud Crawford. So, yeah, there's a lot at stake this weekend, and for both of those fights that are coming up. These are opportunities for these guys to set up the rest of the year for them. My man Positive Vibes came out and said, I find it interesting Tim's last win was Fundora's last loss. Very interesting. Again, listen, Tszyu's main thing at this point is to make an impact, is to make the Americans want to see Tim Tszyu. You know what I mean? And what better way to have a firefight? Listen, guys, we're all tired, and look at guys like Shakur Stevenson. He's getting a lot of slack for not being exciting. And then, when you start getting these exciting fights, you can then get to the big money fights. And listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Gervonta Davis, but the way he puts people to sleep makes people tune into him, and you can't take that away from him. People are tired of watching the pity pat running out of the way. Example: Devin Haney was getting hit with that, and then had a couple really good fights, and then goes to 140 and dominates a bigger man. I think boxing may be changing in the right direction, changing for the better in regards to the fact that now these guys are actually realizing, we got to make this entertaining, or people are not going to tune in. With companies like Amazon coming into this and Netflix, they want action. They want people to come in and make people want to watch the fight. There's a lot of new fans that are to be gained in these fights. And if you put on boxing for the first time and you watch Shakur Stevenson, right, you're probably not going to tune back in his last fight. You're probably going to be like, I'm not watching this. It's like me watching golf. I'm not watching this. It's not entertaining. It's not fun to watch. And, a lot of these guys that are laying it all on the line are going to get rewarded because it's all about driving that fan base. And I think this is what I love about Netflix getting involved and what they called Amazon getting involved, because they're driven on streams. They're driven on that, and I think that is something that is very big. And again, social media. I mean, listen, if we didn't have social media, if we didn't have that, we probably wouldn't even care if Rolly was fighting, because he hasn't really done anything impressive in the ring that makes us want to see that. But he's utilizing that. So I think the era of the tap, get out the way boxer and the protecting the O may be out the door at this point, because people are tired of paying for pay-per-views that don't live up to hype. They don't. And I think people, and not to go to Canelo, but that's why people, I think, like watching Canelo fights, because regardless, win, lose, or draw, Canelo's trying to take your head off. He's making it exciting. He's hurting people. And I think that's actually starting to go there. And I think when it comes to someone like Shakur Stevenson, it actually hurt him, and it's really hurt him in stock, because he's, I watch Paulie Malignaggi, and I love Paulie. We went to school together. I'm a big fan of Paulie. I think he's one of the best announcers out there. And I'm seeing Paulie, and he's talking, he's talking crazy about Canelo, whatever it is. He's a duck, whatever. And then he's kind of like, he's like, Shakur is the best fighter in the world, this and that. I get it. Paulie was a similar fighter to a Shakur Stevenson, where he wasn't a big puncher. It was more of the art form and getting the win in boxing. He wasn't knocking nobody out, which a lot of people do appreciate that. But for the common fan, right, you're not going to appreciate that. You don't want to see that BS. You want to see guys fight. The sweet science is one thing if you're a purist, but at the same time, you want to see people actually show up to win the fight. And you look at it in all sports. Look at the NFL. Why do you think the NFL is the most successful league out there? Because they continue to make rules to benefit offense. Okay, Guys, that's the key word is offense. You feel me? People want to see points scored. People want to see knockouts. People want to see touchdowns. People want to see home runs in baseball. Baseball is taking a hit. It's not as exciting. Boxing took a hit. People weren't trying to fight. The NFL is still going up and up and up and up. And what does the NFL continue to do? Make it easier for the offense because people want to see points scored. And it's kind of similar to boxing. We want to see fights. We want to see guys go toe to toe. We want to see wars. We want to see classics. All this stuff about running around the ring, grabbing and not engaging. And oh yeah, well I ran around the ring for 12 rounds and I outboxed them. The fans don't want to see that BS anymore. And I think it's changing for the better in that regard. And listen, I know a couple of my really close friends, my boy Gerald McCoy, he just started getting into the boxing a few years back. You know what I mean? And if you're not patient with boxing, you kind of turn away. Like, I don't want to see this. But then you start seeing guys that actually lay it on the line, And I think with these networks, I believe that they're going to start putting the pressure on these guys to actually fight. And it's not going to bode well for guys like Shakur if they're not going to sit there and want to strap it up and actually want to fight. And to be honest, I just watched Shakur recently, and he was making some statements pretty much saying that you're going to see a different Shakur. And clearly somebody's been in his ear like, listen, bro, like all that tap, get out the way type of stuff, that's cool when you're trying to end your career. But, people, if you want new fans, you got to do something amazing. And a lot of people give Floyd Mayweather credit for the style of people not fighting, but people tend to forget when Floyd was coming up in boxing, his hands was gone. His hands was going. He had great fights with Castillo, Diego Corrales, I forgot the Angel Manfredi. He was letting his hands go. He was exciting. And then as he got older, became more cautious and basically just hyped up the fight to be something it wasn't, and that's something that Floyd did. You can't walk into boxing nowadays, especially with all these new companies that are coming in, and be boring as shit. You got to sell the fight. You got to lay it on the line. And I think it's showing that in regards to seeing even guys like Devin Haney, who's not a notorious puncher. But you know what? He was exciting his last fight. He stood there and fought. He's boxing inside the ring. He's in there, and he's letting his hands go. And, that's what boxing is starting to become. And I think that's a positive. That's a positive because you can't continue to have the same boring stuff over and over. How many times are we disappointed later in Floyd's career watching his fights and seeing him fight Manny Pacquiao and going to sleep? Like, let's be real. Like, we were sleeping. I'm sitting there like, I'm tired. This is BS. This is garbage. And I'm a Floyd fan. But you guys remember, I became a Floyd fan when he was Pretty Boy Floyd. And I think a lot of boxers today have taken Floyd's approach later in his career and applied it to the beginning of their career and have been protecting themselves and the O's. And that's what's hurting guys like Shakur Stevenson. And even Gervonta, listen, if Gervonta wasn't knocking people out, people wouldn't care because at the end of the day, he's not fighting the best fighters. That's why you got to take your hat off to somebody like Devin Haney. He's like, you know what? I'm going to fight Lomachenko. I'm going to fight Ryan. I mean, he beat Ryan Garcia, but he's trying to unify at 140. So I think in order for boxing to continue to progress, we have to have these type of fights. Because people, listen, I hear it all the time. Yo, how do you watch boxing? Boxing is dead. Boxing is boring. I watch the MMA. I watch UFC. I get it. You don't get the fight you want. You know what I'm saying? It's not, and then when you do, they don't live up to the hype, which is absolutely crazy to me. And I've been disappointed a bunch of times because of that. Like, I'm like, bro, what am I watching? Especially when you're superstars. Let's put this out there. Your superstars of boxing aren't willing to lay it out on the line. That hurts boxing as a brand. That's why you have to respect the Canelo Alvarez. That's why you have to respect a David Benavidez. You have to respect guys like that because they're laying it out on the line. They're going out there fighting. Canelo could run around the ring for 12 rounds right now and just continue to fight and win fights that way. But he's still out there trying to take your head off because he loves the sport of boxing. He respects the sport of boxing. And I think people have to understand that when you love something like that and you're passionate about it, it's different. Why do guys want to see Benavidez versus Canelo? We all know it's an action-packed fight. We all know that these two guys are going to beat the hell out of each other. Benavidez wants him as bad as he, and it's not like, when Floyd, we watched Floyd towards the end of his career, he'd be like, man, I'm going to whip your ass, right? It wasn't like that. It was, all right, it was a boxing lesson, whatever. When you hit two guys, Benavidez, I'm going to knock him out. I believe David Benavidez when he says, I'm going to knock Canelo Alvarez out. And I know Canelo out there is like, oh, nah, ain't nobody ever stop me. We going to get it in. So, like, this is a historic fight in the making. But I think the fans are going to start continually gravitating to these type of fighters that are actually doing this. All this undefeated tap run, it hurts boxing. You know what I'm saying? And I think right now, tell Canelo to fight Benavidez. I think he's gonna fight him. And you need to come on the show. I'm tired of people talking about my man not ready, or it's business, guys. At the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez is getting $35 million guaranteed to fight Jaime Munguia. Okay, let's take it back. They quote unquote got offered $40 million last year. It went up a year later to $60 million. You're Canelo Alvarez. You know how big Benavidez is. You know how dangerous he is. You know how bad people want to see this fight. You're going to get, and another thing that people got to understand about Canelo, and I didn't want to get off subject. All right, and you got to look at it like this. Canelo understands business in boxing. He understands business. And I say, he says Canelo don't want no problems, to be honest. No, and that's not it. He wants to be compensated for what he's going to face. And that's just the God's honest truth. Canelo's not going to show up there and run for 12 rounds. We all know Canelo got pride he's going to fight. It's going to be a war when Canelo decides to strap it up versus Benavidez. But he also knows how much money companies like Netflix are worth, how much money Amazon is worth. And he also knows how they want to make a huge impact in the sport to tune it in. In fact, I think Amazon had announced that they're doing 12 events next year free on top of the pay-per-view fights they're going to do. And I guarantee that Canelo understands that. So in order for you to get Canelo in the ring, to risk his life, he's going to capitalize. And I believe he's going to get it. I believe he's going to get $150 million guaranteed. And he's going to get of course he's going to get pay-per-view. And honestly, I think it's going to be a war. Whether you have Benavidez winning or Canelo, the one thing that we all can agree on, and this is real talk, that it's going to be a war. Please, Hot Boy Judah, don't ever say some crazy shit like that again. He's running from Berlanga. Please, don't do that. Berlanga is, no disrespect to my man out in Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn. Berlanga is not. He's not it, guys. I'm sorry. But anyways, back to some serious talk. We all know Canelo and Benavidez is going to be a war. It's going to be a war. It's not going to be Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. It's not going to be Floyd. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be one of those fights. It's going to be a war. We're going to get our money's worth. There's going to be a couple pints of blood on that canvas by the time that fight's over with. Those guys are going to lay it out on the line. And Canelo understands who he is, and he definitely understands who David Benavidez is. And I know he has that respect for him as a fighter. Maybe not as a person, but as a fighter. And we all know Benavidez is going in there to knock him out, and Canelo is going in there to knock him out. And there is no way that this fight will be underwhelming. So why wouldn't Canelo ask for $150, $200 million? I'm just saying, Amazon is worth $1.83 trillion right now. $250 or $200 million is not much sweat off their back, especially when they're trying to make Amazon the place to go watch boxing. So yes, I am 100% with Canelo saying this is what I want. So everybody out there saying he's ducking, he's doing this, let's save that same energy, Stephen A. Smith, for guys that are really actually ducking the smoke in their divisions. And that's just being real. There's no reason Bud shouldn't be fighting Boots Ennis. There isn't. Bud doesn't even get that much at this point. So stop it, guys. You know what I mean? Don't disrespect my man Canelo. That's my dog. I am Team Canelo all the way. And I love Benavidez too, so don't get it twisted. Like, I just want to see the fight. You know what I'm saying? But again, man, I'm looking forward to it. Look, the other subject that we were going to talk about today was Haney. Look at Haney, man. He wants to unify 140. I want to see Haney versus Teofimo. Those are the two best at 140. Let's make that fight happen. And you know what? Tio's coming to fight. Haney knows that. He said he'll fight Matias too. Let's make fights that people are actually going to show up there and actually attempt to win. And Devin Haney has gained a lot of respect from me simply because he's not ducking no smoke. He wants all of the big fights. I got nothing but love and respect for that man because he's making the fights happen. He's not trying to pussyfoot around it. He's out there making these fights happen. And he's actually fighting at this point, which is extremely impressive for me, especially with how the era is today. You know what I mean? So to me, like, I'm super geeked to see where boxing is going. I know a lot of people be like, yo, this shit boring. No, there's some guys that really want to fight. You got to take your hat off to the Devin Haneys, to the Teofimo Lopez, to the Canelo Alvarez, David Benavidez. These guys are coming to fight. Caleb Plant. These guys are coming to fight. This is what boxing needs to be moving forward. This is real shit. All this, and again, there's always going to be politics in boxing. But as long as we're getting guys that are actually showing up to entertain and lay their lives on the line, because that's what they're doing. Boxing is going to be here forever. And it's in good hands, man. We got some young killers out there that are out there trying to fight. Shout out to Devin Haney, man. I give that man nothing but love. And I wasn't a Haney fan at first when I first seen him. But Haney has shown to me that he's wanting to lace it up and get busy with the best of them. And then he's gained all the respect from me. Devin Haney has. And that's just being honest, man. But I'm definitely super geek for it. Like I said, Haney was out there talking about, possibly unifying at 140. Boxing is in good hands, y'all. I'm telling you right now, boxing is in good hands right now. 2024 moving, and I guarantee you, we are going to get Canelo versus David Benavidez. David, I like you. I like you a lot. Canelo's Canelo. I'm just letting you know that. Yeah. David Benavidez, Canelo Alvarez. I'm looking forward to it. But on that note, man, I'm about to shake. I'm going to probably come on live tonight. We're going to get busy. We're going to do some other shit. We're going to get shit cracking. I just wanted to talk to y'all, let y'all know what's up. I'm trying to figure this schedule out for everybody, build this shit, and keep boxing real. I see a lot of podcasts out there. Shout out to them. Some of them ain't really keeping it real, but we're going to keep it real here. It's your boy. Hold on, my man said, Berlanga wants all the smoke. Heart pumps, no fear. Yes, he needs to get some experience on his belt. With the last few fights he's been going, yo, I'll put whatever you want on Caleb Plant knocking him out. Like, Berlanga is just not it, bro. Like, listen, I get the whole Puerto Rican pride. Listen, I'm Puerto Rican, okay? And I get the whole Puerto Rican pride. Berlanga ain't it, bro. He's not. Teddy be nice. Again, it's your boy. I'll catch y'all. Matter of fact, tune in tonight at 10 p.m. We're going to get busy now. We're going to talk more. I'm going to have some guests up here, and we're going to get it shaking. We out.